I don't know. It says it's running.
Go for it. We're live.
We're live? All right. Welcome back to episode, I think, 29. We're going to have to get to the 30s soon. Bob's celebrating to my right.
Don't know.
We don't know. It could be 24. I don't know. We don't count good. Of Drawing Blood, your weekly, if not bi-weekly or twice a week, little inside peek into how we're animating our top-down adventure, #Blood. It's a traditionally drawn top-down adventure video game. Uh-oh, someone's trying to get in. Hey, Alex Fritz. Hey, how you doing, Alex? Thanks for joining us. It's very much in the spirit of Zelda and late 90s Cartoon Network kind of inspired cartoons here, and we're kind of taking a hybrid of both, adding a little thumbprint of our own to it, and we're off to the races. So last week we were working on this sort of mid-boss. I'll show you all this stuff again, just those who haven't tuned in a bit. So we got all this stuff, and you can see he kind of leaves behind this little kind of character if you're looking down at this sprite right here. Click on that one. So he attacks and leaves behind. So we got these kind of bad guys, these little mini bosses. Or they're going to be just kind of just mini characters in the game. Hey, and Lauren's here. All right, I see some familiar faces. And, oh man, this is, it's just going to be a weekly meeting between us, 10 to 15 people. And I'm okay with that. So we started this guy last week, and we're gonna continue working on him. So we got all his walk cycles, well, just one of his walk cycles, his stop, his attacks. We got 2 different attacks. And I think I ended last week with one hit right here. So that's sort of if you smash down on him, so he, if you hit him with a downwards punch, he would kind of squash. And this one is if you hit him with the uppercut. So this is like if you punch up sort of thing. So we kind of try to keep in mind that the inertia of when Becky's attacking some of these smaller characters. I mean, some of the characters are so big it doesn't matter, but these tiny ones we can really play with a lot. And I started working on... Hey, and Arrow Will. How's everyone doing? You guys have a good week? This week dragged for us, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm glad it's Friday. So I started kind of laying out this death sequence. We kind of get a little gruesome in this one. So he kind of pops open. I had to lead into the pop. His eyes disappear, and you can see I kind of have the tentacles kind of suck back in, and then kind of everything eventually kind of just disappears into nothing. So that's, and it's all, everything's always going to be seen at this big on the screen in context of Becky. Who's your favorite animator or cartoonist? My favorite animator is Richard Williams. I think in terms of the craft, he's the best animator there is living, or even the ones who passed on. I think he was the best. Cartoonist, my favorite comic book artist is Sam Keith, though. I always liked what he did with Wolverine. I liked what he did with the comic book The Max, which is, I think, a mid-90s comic book. But I loved his ink work. We've got some stuff going on in the hall. But yeah, those are my 2 kind of go-tos. I'd say Sam Keith I knew first, though, because when I discovered the comic book The Max, I feel like that really set me on a course to kind of like this outsider art kind of stuff. And I got it when I think I got The Max when I was, I don't know, maybe 13, so it's a really impressionable age. But I just loved how it didn't look like a regular comic book. And it was really cerebral. It was like a kind of a psychological kind of thing. It wasn't just, Superman versus whoever. It's felt very, at least, I mean, if I read it now, I don't know what I would feel like. That's why I kind of never really revisit my childhood stuff. I have such fond memories of it. Richard Williams is definitely very important to the. Yeah, no, Richard Williams is, he'll go down in history as one of the best, if not the best, until someone takes that crown away. Which he's just a true blue animator though. Like I like his animation direction too, but I just think in terms of like sitting down and in betweening, I don't think anyone's really catching up to him. All right. So what we have to kind of do in the beginning here is kind of indicate that you hit them last. So we're going to do that kind of color shift that I do when the guy gets hit initially. So what we're going to do is sort of in between all the way to that to get to this. So it'll be quick. A lot of commotion now today. Jesus Christ. Oh, Eric Goldberg, you like him? Yeah, no, I mean, listen, all those, any one of that caliber is amazing. It's really a kind of, like just little dissections at that point when it comes to, you know, the greats. All right. Let's see. So what we're gonna do is start in betweening to get to this part. So the eye kind of pops off and shoots off. So we're gonna have to build tension to that. It's a quick one. You don't want the deaths to last too long because I don't want to think you can keep hitting them. Too, you kind of need to like games are really about indicators, I think, more than the particular animation. So when you see this certain animation happening, like right away, you know you can kind of move on. And if you want to sit there and enjoy the animation, that's not such a very game-like thing to do, though. So we'll start splitting them up there. So the eye pops off, and then we'll do that stagger I did last week, and I can review that when I get to it. James Baxter's pretty good, yeah. No way, Chuck Jones, I forgot about him. Yeah, no, Chuck Jones was like in terms of television animation, Chuck Jones changed everything. I think he made animation efficient too. You know, he got a lot of mileage out of everything he kind of drew, which is he would have been great. Like, I wish more people took kind of his school of thought into consideration nowadays. Actually, where you're getting mileage out of drawings, where you're working smart, not just. You know, we have all this technology that sped us up, and now we're trying to slow ourselves down again by adding extraneous stuff to shirts or, you know, character design with too many earrings or all that stuff that just bothers animators and doesn't tell the story any better. You know, we get notes every day about what we have to add to the characters. And just such a waste, I feel like. Doesn't help the acting either. And it's like Disney and all the other old animators figured out, like, that's why every character had 3 fingers and a thumb instead of 4, because they figured out even adding that extra line or taking it away just an extra line gone every 24 frames a second, you're going to save X amount of time by the end of a production. And now look at any of those puppeting shows. You'll understand what I'm talking about. I think a little Chuck style more than. Think about it. I think I like Chuck style more than the movement itself. Yeah, he definitely had a definitive style, Chuck Jones. You know, the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Like he totally took Dr. Seuss's world and like spun it on its head a little bit. And it's funny. It's like I'll read that to my son, and when I look at Dr. Seuss's drawings, I'm like, why does this look so weird? And it's like, oh, it's because I'm associating it with Chuck Jones. He had kind of a very loose style, very, you could really see the pencil marks in his stuff. I like the rough edges, too, he was always playing with. And it's a byproduct of when he was coming up, too. Like, when you think about all that 60s and 70s animation, a lot of that was happening. And they had to crank out stuff. And it was a small team, too, that was doing it. I feel like don't you think teams are bigger now than they've ever been?
Very big.
Yeah.
Or there was just a lot of people he never heard about. It's probably
No, that's
Yeah, they
probably
just
you
didn't.
probably just didn't get credit, I guess, where it's due. But I definitely think there's more artists than not though, where I feel like it's reversed nowadays. Let's see. So we're gonna stagger this one too. He could make anything a door. He was on the. How was the interview with the Android? That was a while ago. That was a great interview. We had a lot of fun doing that. Her name is Felicity Mortland, or Moreland. It's spelled Mortland though, I think. She, she contacted us sort of out of the blue. She mentioned what she was doing, and Bob and I have a deep appreciation for hand-drawn stuff. And she came in here with her crew, and she's great at interviewing. It was really fun talking about some of our personal projects and what hand-drawn animation means to us. And since she's been working on it for a bit right now, and I think she's got some real heavy hitters in this documentary now. Really big names.
The early on.
We were the early on ones, so I think we're going to be left on the editing room floor, but I'm okay with just being. So that we're going to stagger that though, so we can. So that'll go like that before popping. Hey you. Can we get anything? How's it going, Portal Tamer? She's here. Oh, great. I was hoping she'd come. One of the great indie game devs of our time right here, doing it all on her lonesome. Just those who never stepped into the indie dev arena, the sheer amount of work that goes into these things it's staggering. And that didn't stop her from making a really cool game. Still making the game. We did see that. I just commented on it. That's I'm glad to see you got interested in traditional. It's a daunting, just like what you're doing now. Everything's so daunting when you first start too. But no, that's we all start the same way you do, with an interest in it, and then you just take a crack at it, and then 23 years later, you can you can do what we're trying to do. All right, so what I want to do here is going to be something a little different. First, I'm going to stagger this. So if those of you who saw, I just took these frames on layer 2 and just swapped them out up top, so there's a little bit of a kind of like that, so it pops. Now what I'm going to do is kind of change the color a little bit, so I'm going to grab these ones so we know, copy those frames so we know he got hit. Let's see here. Hello, I'm a Cuban animator. I love your animation style. Have you think about doing 60 frame? Oh no, I would never do 60 frame. It would take forever to animate. I knew we could shoot stuff. You can export stuff on 60 and it looks different. But the idea of trying to do 60 frames a second for like a walk cycle would literally double, if not triple, our work. So it would probably triple, yeah. So and I feel like animation prices are going down nowadays anyway. So yeah, we have to find ways to make money, not lose anymore. Which we got really good at losing it. I mean, Bob, how good are we at that right now?
Real good.
We're doing. I mean, it's
Gangbusters.
I mean, we're reverse businessing. Okay, so we got this kind of death sequence now. So pop. So it's a little gruesome and a little kind of visceral, but these creatures are. So So let me take that. We can add the debris later too, which is like the blood and all that stuff. I might add another 2 frames like that. Just see what that looks like. That could work. Maybe just one. Yeah, I like that better. I did this little circle, kind of just, this is a guide layer, just to kind of know, since it's a top-down, I need to know the perspective. I don't want it to block out too much of the background when he ends up passing away. I was going to say I love the grossness of that. Speaking of, have you ever seen this? Is this the Tom and Jerry thing on 60 frames a second? Because I have seen that, and that looked insane. Well, it's just so smooth. But I don't, something about, I felt the same way when like HD TVs came out, and I was like, I remember sitting, I was at Augenblick's at the time, the studio in Brooklyn, and every Friday we used to go to a pizza shop, and they have televisions on the wall. This is years ago, and I remember a friend of mine, Jeremy, was sitting there, and we were kind of mesmerized by this TV that was new. You know, it's a new HD TV, and a soap opera was on or something, kind of.
No, it just probably looked like a soap opera.
It just no, it might have been, and it just looks so artificial or something like that. Like it lost something in, and now I'm used to it. So when I see like old footage of like you know, they occasionally in the news they show old footage of like something in 2007, say, and I was like, gosh, that's what TV used to look like. And the answer is yes, you just never noticed, and now that looks weird too. But I remember when I first saw it, I was weirdly turned off by it. Oh, we got a new subscriber. I think I figured this out. Is that Vinartist? Oh, now, yeah. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so I was weirdly turned off by it because it just felt so clear or something. But now, like, that's all the rage, is all, especially 3D games. So, I'm using the tentacles in the middle here as sort of the baseline for what the rest of the animation will, so I'm going to follow that chart. So we're just going to go in and in between, going to leave blank keyframes for all these, for the rest of this goop on the bottom. So let's have at it. I kind of onion skin those two so I don't have to get too distracted by it. And then later I kind of want to add like little gross things in here too. But I'll do that last just because it'll get a little too confusing with it. Alright, so this is a really tight in-between, so I'm going to go into 400 with the second to last brush. The tighter the in-between, and it's a little counterintuitive, you kind of want to zoom in a little more. You're going to have to, you'll be all over the screen with it, but it just will make the accuracy of the in-between a lot easier. And this is so tight that you don't even need to rough it out, in my opinion. So we're going to do this. It's a big kind of settle, this goop we're playing with right here. And there's also going to be Becky throws pencils, which those who know vampire lore, if you kind of stab a vampire in the heart with a stake, we're kind of playing with the pencil being the modern day equivalent to a stake. So we're going to need kind of death animation for if you throw the pencil at this guy. So you can kill this guy two ways, either by your fists or the pencil, depending on what you hit. So we'll need different animations for all those. And I have a fun kind of idea for the pencil one. So question, is this vector drawing or is it a bitmap drawing? It's a vector. This is an old program though. It's predecessor of Adobe Animate. It's called Flash MX, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, came out either in 2002 or 1999. I don't really... Do you know what year this came out? maybe not 90s, but I think it came out in the very early 2000s. And I use it just because I like the drawing style of it better than that of Adobe Animate. But it's vector, so I can zoom in and not lose any degradation in terms of line or pixel quality or any of that stuff. It's fun drawing with vector too, because you could really, you know, when you get to zoom in and then play with the line weights and stuff, you get a lot of leeway with it. Though I've seen people draw in Photoshop, which, I mean, actually, and they did such excellent work. So you see it's kind of already feeling a little more alive. Now this is going to start sucking in, and it's a giant ease out. So the first in between between this and this, I'm going to favor this side, which is an ease out. So I'll rough this one out, and I could also clean this one up at 200. Alright, so this little section kind of starts sucking up there. I added some dimensionality to the skin here too, but what I first will do is kind of worry about the surface area rather than the thickness of the line, or thickness of the skin right now. Now what I can do is just kind of add a little dimensionality to it, just by kind of following the contours of it. And that's sort of I try to keep these characters as simple as I can so we can get a lot of animation in each one. So there's not a lot going on to this in terms of detail. And in fact, this character is, I think, just 2 circles when you really break it down to the construction drawing. And it's all about how much acting you can get done with one line. I had a teacher that told me that once. Animation is acting. That's all it really is. You know, acting meets draftsmanship. But if you can convey an emotion with minimal line work, then you did your job as a quote-unquote director. And that kind of harkens back to what I was saying earlier about, so it's not about the decal on the t-shirt or any of that kind of I've been harping on t-shirts lately. Sorry, I missed some of that. For drawing or for animation?
She was talking. I think.
I'm sorry, I missed something.
Was asking about. She's trying to find a good program, but.
Oh, I mean, I'm a Flash guy. That's tried and true Flash guy there. So I'm always going to recommend that. Though I've seen a lot of people do amazing things in Photoshop, and it depends what you are trying to do. Animation, there are certain programs that are just geared towards that, and you know, where Photoshop's kind of a jack of all trades thing. Sorry, I missed that. Alright, so we're gonna add a little dimensionality to that. Again, I didn't need to really in between this one. When you zoom in, rough it out. When you zoom in this far, it's almost hard to make a mistake. And when you shoot it on ones too. And again, when you zoom out to 25%, and you think about it in the context of gameplay too, you know, I'm trying to be wary of like what the player's seeing, because after you kill an enemy, you're kind of moving to the next thing. You're not really savoring that victory or that death. You're kind of in the middle of either a battle or moving on. So there's not a lot of, you know, stopping and smelling the roses and that type of thing in games. Though I feel like artistry is making a strong comeback, so people are appreciating kind of the new set of indie games. So we got that. Oh my god, Toon Boom, what a nightmare. I haven't used it, but I've heard it's really difficult to kind of master, and it seems when I saw this was a while ago, so and I know people who do great stuff with Toon Boom. our friend James Shagru, who doesn't. If you guys don't know him as an animator, check out Game Shagru, James Shagru. I don't know if we have any of his stuff, but if Bob's gonna find his Instagram and Twitter stuff, he's a fantastic animator, and he's done great stuff with Toon Boom, and it really looks authentic and pencil-like and stuff. So we're gonna send his Twitter your way. A real like cartoony kind of animator too. And no, he's fantastic. Watching what he's done though, last few years and stuff, he's really mastering some stuff. And he's one of those animators too that you could tell really enjoys animation, like. And that's a weird thing to kind of say because it's like, oh, doesn't every animator enjoy animation? Not like James does. Yeah, everyone should check out his stuff. Follow it because he always posting stuff on Twitter too. He always inspires us. But I think all that stuff that you saw in there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kind of tribute he did. I think I don't know if it aired yet, but he's doing one about Daffy Duck tribute. And that's all done in Toon Boom, and it looks fantastic. Plus those new Looney Tune kind of cartoons, like those callbacks. I think that's all done in Toon Boom too. If Harmony is anything like Storyboard Pro, I'm sold. Storyboard Pro, it's made. I know a lot of people who use Storyboard Pro too. I personally never used it myself. I found you can kind of do everything we need as a small studio in Flash. We do all our animatics in Flash. We kind of find it like a one-stop shop actually, and you can kind of build your whole kind of production in Flash. We found, but I know a lot of people who sing the praises of Storyboard Pro myself. All right, so we got. All right, that's looking like something, right? Or nothing. Just this goop. Okay, so we're gonna rough this one out, I think. Yeah, let me rough it out. All right. Excuse me. So that goes like that, and that goes like that. Don't decolor it. I'm gonna just make that red so I see my lines. Give it a quick save. That's another thing with Flash. The saving is way quicker. The memory is a lot different.
Not well, yeah, than anime.
Well,
Yeah.
yes. I try to stay positive on these things, but then I talk about Adobe Animate, get all flustered. Alright, so we got that guy. Now we can do the same thing to that. I don't have an official storyboarding process, I just make squares and stick figures. Well, that's all. I mean, if you're doing it for yourself, then you just really need to know that what is represented in those squares and stick figures. Storyboards, it's become more mainstream. People like to look at storyboards now. But they are just what they're supposed to do, just indicators of a shot and kind of laying out what the scene's going to look like and stuff. So it doesn't really need to be pretty even as long as the director knows, well, I used to do it. It's just like a square meant one character and a circle meant another character, and then I just kind of frame out the shot, and then we'd worry about laying them out later. But I think, when we work with clients who need to see storyboards, then we're a lot more meticulous. Alright, color this. So that starts folding in like that. Like that. I usually struggle with composition structure. What I want. Yeah, 3D might be because you're worrying about 3D stuff too, right? If you want to learn storyboarding, I joined a storyboarding membership with Sergio Pays. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I highly recommend it. Oh, check that out. Alright, so I'm liking this. We're gonna need a little debris though. I mean, he should be filled with some sort of... I mean, the game is called Blood, right? Have to do something about that. So I'm gonna just keyframe these out, follow the same chart, and then we'll worry about a little bit of gore. Alright, so... So what happens here is this side is this side is shooting over to this side. So this in between, we're gonna start twirling it like that. Clean that up real quick. How many work in the studio that you... And how do you... We're just two guys at the studio, so it's kind of easy to manage our workflow that way. Deadlines, I mean, what we found about deadlines is, one, they're always very loose. Like, people say they need it at a certain time, and we'll finish early, and then we'll find that they were not telling the truth. So we've never really had a problem with deadlines. Now, we take jobs that we know we can manage too. So if someone came to us and say, "Hey, I need 4 episodes, 22 minutes each," we're like, "Whoa, we can't do that. That's bigger. There's bigger studios to that." So, but if someone came to us and said, "I need a 3-minute animation, I need it done in 6 weeks," and then we just figure out, okay, so that means we need X amount of drawings a day. We need to get this much done a day, and then you kind of break it like we reverse engineer the deadline to make sure we're never too crazy. Now, there has been times when we we had to work under the gun and work late, a lot of late nights, but I don't think that's crazy. And every animator will tell you they're always working late at night too. So, but you just kind of get a sense of what you're capable of as two people. Plus, we know what our strengths are, we know what our weaknesses are, so we kind of use those to our advantage too when picking out a job. And the biggest job we took, was it OKKO?
Yeah, I was thinking.
We took a job to make help animate a video game for Cartoon Network with a video game company called Capybara. That was like, I think it ended up being at least close to 30 minutes of animation.
Yeah, I might have been more, I think.
So, and that was done 2 summers ago, and I think it was done over the course of this summer, pretty much. So that one we felt the pressure on, for sure. Plus everything was kind of staggered in stages, so that was a little easier too. But no, so a lot of times you're waiting for the audio. Other times, the audio's given to you right away, and then they need it right away. So there's a lot of there's just a lot of like X factors you have to always consider when taking on a job. And when you work with a client, you get a rapport and stuff too. All right. So that's, right now it's strobing because I didn't color it yet, but oh yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, cool. Let's color this eye. So seeing you like visualizing the frames of these. Oh, you get you just get a second, or kind of like it just becomes second nature animation where, yeah, it's weird. I don't really care about the drawings per se, which is weird for an animator to say, but like the in between, I'll care more about like the layout poses and the initial pose, and like for these, the idle animation is kind of important, but everything else is sort of just as long as it gets to where it needs to get, I'm not too worried about it. And I find the less I worry, the quicker I draw, and I'm more happy with the drawing by the, that's not right, by the end of it anyway. I could kind of even spread those out if I wanted to. I might time out the eye a little different. Let me just shoot it on 2s here. I'm just gonna shoot this one on 2s, and then we'll see if that timing works out. So it's a little more hang time. It's not a natural fall, but I kind of like it a little bit better. It kind of, there's a better rhythm to this, I think. Let's see what it looks like in context. Yeah, I think that. I could probably speed it up near the end, though. Let me, one more. I'm always doing this too. That's the beauty of Flash. You can just adjust it so quick. And the way the old school animators used to do this is they used to just shoot it differently. They would shoot it on 3s and 4s if they needed to. I've been doing more concept art lately. It's way more relaxing than yeah. No, I do. We've been doing a lot of concept art ourselves, actually. This week, that's all I did. I didn't animate at all. This is my first time animating this week. Which I was doing it for our friend at Iron Horse Games, Michael Gordon, who I still submit as our favorite client of all time. It's just, man, it just, when you find a good client, you just hold on to them and always asking for work. He's just, it's just so nice when everyone has their role or something, and he knows his role and we know ours, and then we just create so much content and art for him. And he could be one of those crazy clients that we could still be on the first project, but he just knows, just sort of understands the business of it. Alright, that works. And what I could do, well, I'm gonna, no, that looks fine, I think. What I might do, actually, I'll show you a trick. So this is a little floaty on top, so what I'll do is copy all these frames. And then you could play, this is how you kind of use Flash too, a little bit to your advantage. I'm gonna call this Squid Vampire. Squid Vamp Death Eye. Gonna paste the frames in this symbol. So I got the animation kind of embedded here. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna line this up. So now what I can do is what we call puppet, or use the symbol to its advantage here. So I lined it up accurately, or kind of lined it up as best I could. So now I could shoot it up as high as I want to, too, now. I can even go a little higher if I want to shoot it up. And then I can make it go a little lower if I wanted it to go low. So we could... Bob, I just wanted to say your soundtrack is awesome. Thanks for sharing it. Oh, can you guys hear the music now? Because we have some music on that what?
Probably Voltron, probably.
Oh, Voltron, yeah. I want to show you guys how Bob does that one day. Do we know how we can do that yet?
We just have to
set up on the different.
Mac.
So you can see now we.
Set up well.
Would that set up?
Well, the Mac is on the back of the
Oh,
TV
the Mac.
right now.
The return of the Mac. So you can see that the top eye. And you know, that's a little high. I can lower that a little bit. won't do a negative 100, I'll do negative 50 so it falls a little quicker. I think that's the sweet spot. I'm going to keep that one. And then I just keyframe all those keyframes. I lose the motion tween. And just make sure everything's on the same chart by removing the keyframes where it's moving, but the drawing's not there. So there's a little cheat there. Hold on, I just got some. Just had to check my emails. We're got a lot of we're spinning a lot of plates today. Okay, so we got this little death sequence here. I'm gonna move this guy back down so all the damage stuff's in the nice little row. Now we can add some of that gory details with the blood and stuff. Now I like to. I'm gonna just use these again, I think. So I'll grab these frames, which is the blood layer for this hit, and we can time it out correctly for this when he pops. So I'm gonna put it behind here. I'm gonna copy and paste the frames. So you can see even doing little stuff like that just adds to the impact a little bit. Debris is a great kind of spackle for animation, and what I mean by that is like it can fix a lot of the problems if you don't like an input tween. I always recommend doing if you're doing action cartoons like we do a lot, just do a camera shake and some debris and see what happens, because it always seems to work in your favor. So I'm going to get rid of that right now. I can do that on top. So I'm going to color this correctly though, since that's during the impact. So we'll make that, I have to figure out the color. This is the right color. Just going to recolor that one. Then just have to do the rest of the blood, then retime it. Then we can maybe add some of that gory stuff in the middle. Then I just make sure everything's on the same chart here. And I think the sprite's just about done. Looks good to me, I think. Get rid of that. Alright, so we got a little depth here, and when Becky hits this guy enough times, this is what will happen. I think that'll be fun to look at with all the mania going on. I'm trying to think if we should add another. Why don't I do this? I'm going to start with the pencil death, and if I don't like the way this looks, by the time I'm done with that, we can add some more to it. But I want to start that next sprite. Looks great. I love the character's little blood splatter. Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, that blood splatter. I mean, once you find something like that, you know, I've used this blood so many times now that I like, I'll just keep reusing it. And all our characters have some. Let me open up another. These shadow vampires had a fun kind of hit where, like, I used this. That's this smoke down here. I use this smoke down here a lot and other things because I kind of like the way it curled up. So I think I used it like that. That's this one. This one has that in reverse. So that smoke I reused a couple times. Idle doesn't have it. Now this one I'll use that one for something else. And You see there, you can see it. It shows up again. This one right here. So even though all three of these look different, it's the same exact sprites happening here. And we have rats where it's the same thing, where I'm using the blood a bunch. Okay, so let's do an eye hit. So what I'm gonna grab, you always grab the idle, because this is the one, you know, everything always kind of circles back to the idle pose, or the walk pose, or one of the motion poses. So to get the right proportions, I always grab the idle and duplicate the symbol, just so I'm not all over the place with size. No, debris you can't tell. What we used to do was just animate like a small rock disappearing, and then duplicate it enough times and like change the sizes and change the timing. But you'll be surprised if you just kind of alter the frames a little bit how much you can get with just one kind of particle, in other words. Let's see. Modify duplicate symbol. I'm gonna call this one Death Pencil 001. I'm gonna grab one of the pencils from. Actually, the snow vampire had it kind of Where did I put the snow vampire? So these are other guys, but I kind of liked how this guy, the pencil got bigger after he gets hit. Kind of liked how that always worked out. So I kind of like this timing, and it's always, you know, since the eye's the target, it's always going to be the eye. So I'm going to kind of use this, and I kind of like how he dies differently if you hit him with the pencil, and this is the one where he, you could see the snow vampire, I mean the shadow vampire blood disappear in this one too. So that one was fun. So I'm gonna use this as sort of an the same pencil shape and size for this one too. So I'm just gonna grab that actually. When is the program Steam with coding programming? When's coding programming it is what the stream would be nice, but I want to know when he's programming this stuff. No, I always do want to get them into it because, you know, I'm curious too. Is Cody even on here?
I don't think I've seen Cody too.
Cody's been busy as all get out. We've all been, you know, it's a shame because we're all not working on blood as much as we should, and I hope it's not a mistake. I mean, we all have families to feed and stuff, but you know. I'm okay with eating ramen noodles for a little bit to get this thing done. So I got that. But no, we've been.
Cody's programming streams would be pretty entertaining, I have a feeling.
Well, when I join, I'm just going to join. I'm going to sit down there with a jug of beer and I'm going to hurl insults at him, and you'll type. Programming streams are boring. Andrew Tavis is one of our programmers too. I'm just fascinated to see just like the sprite allocation. So this is the pencil here. So let's see. This guy gets. So this one would be you throw a pencil and Becky's on the bottom of the screen, or to the side, or to the left, right. And if he's, in other words, he's in front of you. We'll do a different one where the guy gets stabbed through the back of the head. But let's worry about one thing at a time. So, throw right at him. We're going to use this like that. We're just going to work on a pose right now. I would like to see one though, just out of curiosity. Get a real comment here. Change the size here. Go like that, I think. We'll have the eye kind of overlap the body in this case. What is so wait, do you have an animated separately for each angle? Certain characters we do. The shadow vampires are always in front of you, so no. They'll just have one angle. We might, if push comes to shove and we'll need one, we'll have to worry about that. When it comes, but like the rats, we did every angle. This guy, we're gonna have to do a few angles. Now, it's not to say that okay now I have to do a hit at every angle too, because when you hit a character and you think about video games, you usually hit them and it's an instantaneous kind of reaction. So we can always cut to these particular hits, and these would take up the real estate of any direction you can hit them in. It wouldn't matter. Death's sort of the same thing. The death can just always, since it's an instantaneous kind of thing, you can just get away with one sprite. Now, where I'll have to duplicate it and do the other animations is the back. Like I'll have to do all the ones here, these ones I selected right there. I'll have to do all those separate, and then I'll do a side one. And Becky has every angle, including the two directional ones, so she's actually 5. Now, these characters, I think, I don't think anyone would say boo if this guy could go straight, or he can go. I haven't tried this yet, so we might say boo. But that doesn't look completely awful to me. I mean, it looks better going down, but if we saw that happening on the screen, I don't think you would necessarily take too much note. Now, where it would look weird is if this guy goes up, or completely to the side. If this guy was completely to the side here, that would look. And it's kind of like moonwalking, so it's a little jarring. But yeah, most of the characters. Now this big kind of brutish guy, we're gonna have to position him in such a place where you can never go behind him. I'm thinking, that's just a tactical thing. But a lot of the Zelda bosses, you were never really behind too many of them unless they were smaller in nature, and I don't think you were even supposed to really be behind them.
Minish Cat, they were always against the back.
Yeah, they're kind of always backed against the wall. They're always in kind of a limited area. So, that's more of a level planning kind of thing that we're going to have to worry about. Or, if it's easier, then I'll just have to animate them back. I wouldn't be bothered by that. Hey, and Casey's here. When will a beta demo version of the game be available? What platforms? That are Andrew, do you have any ETA on that? I mean, we're comfortable with showing the demos at these cons and all that stuff, but I think we're kind of far away from even an alpha. Don't you think, Bob?
Yeah, no, we're not releasing that at the time.
Gonna move that up here. Just going. No, so it is a lot of work, these top-down games. If this was a platformer or something, we would have had a lot more. And we did the same amount of drawings. I feel like the asset library would be almost complete. Okay, so just gonna wrong button. So I'm gonna just draw this. Just a trace back, really. Make sure I have the right line right here. But we're chipping away at it, and I was mentioning it earlier. We all have these full-time jobs, and Bob and I are trying to run a business too. Emphasis on the word try. So we don't have a 9-to-5 job either. Even when we're just working on Blood, I feel like there's always this looming sense of responsibility when you're Well, we have families to feed too, which is, it's not just on our own. We have wives, 2 kids each. So, you know, every once in a while I'll be like, oh, we should just work on blood, and then that kind of snaps me back into focus. It's like, oh, we need to worry about that for now. All right, so he gets hit in the eye. So what happens when you get hit in the eye? First, like the first frame I'm gonna do is sort of the pencil facing the other way. Like if the pencil's coming from this direction, it's coming this direction. So even if she throws it this way, we're gonna have it start kind of towards the middle. So what happens is the eye's still gonna raise a little bit. The pencil's gonna be down here. The body's gonna start raising a bit. So that'll be the first frame. Then it snaps up, like it hits your head and it goes back. Was impressed by the animation I saw on Instagram. Do you guys whip those? I did that one yesterday. We were in between notes on a job. I think I want to say I did it in under 3 hours, that animation yesterday. I'll show you that. That's really easy stuff to kind of whip out when it's no holding lines. He's talking about this. Promotional. I mean, the graphics and all the extra stuff is Bob, but this is what the raw file looks like.
Oh, Xander's here.
Oh, Xander, how's it going, dude? Just popping in. Yeah, all's going well. You know, we're crazy busy with other stuff, but that's the way. It's not going to stop us from animating blood every week. 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
I got 2 hours every week. You know how much animation you get done then. So this one took. I'm gonna say I'm gonna err on the side of 3.5 hours, maybe 4. And I mean, we got a lot of mileage out of it. Like this is a cycle. You know, 4 drawings, easy stuff. This is a cycle. Easy stuff. Settle. And you can see how thick the line is. I'll just change the background color so we can get a real. You can see how thick these lines are. So I think I was brush 6 or 7 at 200%. So I was cleaning up at this. So you can imagine how quick that can go. And I always like doing water effects and no holding line stuff. And every Twitch thing we do a little promotional thing. You know, unless it's actual game footage, I want to kind of play with the different styles of like just different styles of animation, kind of as just an homage to animation. So we got this one for that. We did one. This might crash my computer. We did one of like paper cutouts. You know, so this one's supposed to indicate that it looks like we actually cut it out on paper. What was 619? Oh, that was just this guy. Boring. I don't know. There's some other ones too, but we always try to play with different styles just for the Twitch promotion. And I also don't want to just show like actual sprites for some reason. I feel like people like variety in our Twitter feed. So I always kind of want to explore different options. Plus there's probably storytelling elements we can kind of fold into the game.
We actually wanted to learn.
Oh yeah, no, we like what Bob did this kind of static thing that got the. I could show you the finished version of that Twitch actually. Oh boy, I'm all over the place today. Oh, here it is. So you can see Bob, if you could see my screen, and it might not show up on this, but you could, if you look closely, he did this kind of camera burn and static and multiply and stuff. And we saw this stuff in a lot of motion graphics um, stuff, and we're always curious. So we wanted to explore that, and what better, when it's our own work, we can play with these effects and see what's working or not. And I love this look. Like I could see this even being folded into the game if like Corey's telling a story and we want to do kind of a different style of animation to indicate it's from his point of view. We want to play with that kind of stuff too. I think the cutout thing did it too. And it's funny, I was watching that movie Trolls with my both my sons. I've seen that movie 12,000 times, but I always kind of liked that they did that cutout stuff, and they did it in Minions too with when Scarlet Overkill or something was telling a story, and they did like a stop motion homage, and I always thought that worked well when you're kind of telling a story from a kid's perspective, like you kind of would imagine it, how a kid would imagine it. And it's a good chance to learn stuff too, for sure. And I get bored with styles too, so I always want to play around with other stuff. That's why we're kind of working on that other the one where Bob did the After Effects kind of tutorial. That's a bit of a different style. By the way, why everything I do feels random? Like I don't know, some of my work feels like they don't matter. Awesome, film grain. Yeah, film grain. How much interactivity is Bob putting into those backgrounds? A lot. You make me feel very lazy. I'm sorry, I missed a bunch of stuff. So all the color. Okay, I missed a bunch of stuff. I'm sorry. Let me circle back. I'm gonna start with Casey. So the colors. How do you get the paper look? What I did was actually just grabbed photos from just a Google image search, and I looked for pink construction paper. Then I looked for orange construction paper. So I had to mask out each layer of each thing. And if you saw each, so you see all these masks. This is to do something so simple. It's so hard sometimes. But let me take off like this mask. So I clicked off the mask, and you can see it's just that construction paper kind of flipping up and down. And it's just one thing that I shoot on the same. So that's just an image search, and I just looked for each one. That's what's great about the internet. Like back in the day, I don't know how we would have done this, other than actually create it on paper. Or scan it in. And, I don't have the time for that. So that's how we did that one, and we just masked out each individual colors. How much interactivity is Bob putting into those backgrounds? I could show you because it's tons. Let's go into those background art. Let's see, what's a good one with interactivity, Bob?
I don't know how much of it.
How about even what are they? Where are the catacombs?
Oh yeah, I did do all the bouncing on that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in
What is
Graveyard.
that? Graveyard. Catacombs. So we got flames here, which that's animated, but we're doing this thing where we're working with a camera shake, trying to implement that. So if you hit one of these guys, this is sort of like a clay pot in Zelda, so you can actually break these things if you need to. Destroy those. So everything you kind of see is, at least will be affected by the camera. That's kind of loose on the ground. There, we did the lockers opening. Where is the locker room?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Those might be.
Are those ones not?
They might. Those are. I think even the gem lockers are.
Are those fully animated?
Somewhat animated, at least, and stuff.
So you can open up these. Oh, I closed the wrong one. Sorry. the other lockers are also animatable too. Can you turn on this faucet? Or is that not happening yet?
You
Not
put
yet.
it in one. Actually, no. That one I think you can. Is that might be the same old faucet. I think it had some water.
It might not be in this one. No.
Let's see.
Well, we do have it in. We have a faucet that we got a water fountain.
Oh yeah, that's the that's the bathroom. That one doesn't have it yet.
No. Oh, we got this. This locker opens. And you can just see the amount of detail Bob's putting into this thing where we have the post-it note even. And you remember when you see this thing, this is the size you're going to see it on the screen. So we're really paying attention to a lot of interactivity. It is a game after all, so a lot of it. Okay, now film grain. I think that's just static that Bob used. Am I wrong?
We
For that thing?
we just used different color burns and dissolves and stuff.
It's color burn / dissolve. Actually, we could show you how we did that one too on a different Twitch. Why everything I do feels random? Like I don't know. Some of my work feels like they don't matter. All work is valid. No, that's true. I mean, and even if you learn something during your you know, it's not everything has to get a like or get a share or anything. It's just you're learning also when you're drawing. And you know, art's meant to be seen, so every piece of artwork should be out there and seen too. All those frames. Yeah. Oh, are you talking about the that that paper cutout one? I kind of bit off more than I could chew. Whatever you put. Yeah, I agree with all these people about just putting in the time and you know, not everything has to elicit the response that's in your head either. To you know, you hope people notice and take note of things, but even if you're just learning something, I find it's worth the effort, and that's all art is. I feel like is just trying stuff and learning it, and you know, I don't know if there's an artist out there that's just like, oh, I made the perfect piece of art. Now I'm gonna hang up my hat and call it a day. You know, everyone's trying to sort of do the same thing. So we're gonna do a big overshoot. Pencil's gonna stretch. Play with the perspective. We'll play with the eye, getting bent back a little bit. Stretch it out even more. So his feet can even leave the ground, actually. So we'll stagger down into this, and then we'll have them kind of burst into flames or disappear. You know, I don't want it to be, I don't need everything for him to be just this goopy, like, pile of gore. Sometimes it feels a little excessive sometimes, I find, when you do it that way. And you kind of want to show that each death is kind of unique in its own way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me check my... Sorry, I just had to check my email. Oh, okay. Good news or... Yeah, we'll talk about later. I didn't...
The usual.
Yeah, awesome. That's why I like these. I don't think of bad news until 4 o'clock.
Or Alice Portal thing was saying going back to toddlers sounds way worse. I guess is a fate way worse. Than
Oh gosh, that's the weekends. The weekends used to have such a different feeling before kids, because you just brace yourself for a different kind of storm. But I got movie night tonight, which is always nice because my kids only watch about 15 minutes of it, and then I get to eat the rest of their pizza. So I do. It's a little bit of a pizza night for me. Okay, we're gonna have to stretch that pencil out more. Alright. Okay. So we'll stagger this one. Just gonna do a big ease out here. Gonna have to rough this one out. My talents are big monstrous animals. I got a picture from my wife today, my youngest. He was standing on his art table, like just 1 foot off of it, like trying to grab something, like on top of the fireplace. And it's so funny because my 4-year-old is this he's been so good lately. And then my 2-year-old. They're such different kids. Never know what you're gonna get. Oh, that's good. Yeah, take a break this weekend. The weekends are for me are meant to reset. Unless I really have to work on something specific, I try to kind of divorce myself from even looking at my phone. All right. Let's clean up this guy. Is that the right color? Yeah. Okay, good. Oh, and it's your birthday. Happy birthday. 6 years of madness. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm married. I think I'm married 7 years now. I'm glad my wife doesn't watch the Twitch. I'd be caught on the spot here. And congratulations on the birthday. You doing anything to celebrate? Birthday's landing on a Friday. That's a good day to have it. Oh, that fold here. I need to do better than that. Missed both of these pretty bad. All right, thanks, Portal Tamers, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the anniversary, and keep on kicking butt on that game. Looking fantastic. Pretty much birthdays every day. Make every day a holiday. We try to here. Doesn't always have to be one of those arbitrary holidays, though. Flag Day.
God, I feel like on the news it's always national. It's like
No, it's just National Donut Day or something.
The third time that week, or
No, like morning news always has that. Oh, it's the annual cheesesteak day is just always a food. Back to basics.
back to notes. Back to those notes.
Back to notes. The Chris and Bob story. Alright, so we got that. We're gonna stagger this, and then we're gonna have them sort of. I think I like that kind of smoke idea that we did with snow vampires. So I'm gonna kind of dissipate this guy into smoke too. We don't do that. Did I hear donuts? I wonder if there's an International Toilet Day. Yeah, there is. I imagine there is. Alright, so I'll always add debris last too, just to kind of it's almost debris is always secondary too with these big broad actions. So it's kind of like if you were treating a character with long hair, so the blood would shoot up a frame or two after this guy shoots up, kind of trail. Alright. Probably should have zoomed into 400 for this. Alright, so we got that. So stagger that now. For this one, we're going to do a nice smear frame. And I know Chuck Jones was brought up earlier, and he was the king of the smears with that one. Gosh, what was that short? Do you remember that short, Bob? Or not the short, the Looney Tunes where it was the Three Brothers or something. God damn, what was it called? It's one where he used smears for everything. It's something like that. Something the Brothers. And
Oh, is that the one that they just did a reanimate?
they did do a reanimate of it.
Yeah. That's the only reason I knew it that one, actually.
How do you keep track of the line weight across the art of the game? We just set a lot of parameters for the line weight. Cody will take these things, and these are at 400%, technically, the size they should be for the game, so he'll shrink them down. When it's divisible by 400, we just make sure it's 25% the whole time. And Bob will do all the background art at 100%, so we can export that just fine.
But that doesn't have any lines at least.
Yeah, and that has no line, so it's not as crucial. But we'll just set along these parameters. Every sprite we do, I clean up at the same percentage with the same brush. So no matter what file you open up, the line weight should be intact.
The Dover brothers.
The Dover
something
brothers.
said.
That's right. Yeah, he did so many cool smears in that. I have a feeling Johnny Bravo took a little bit of real estate from that.
They had no problem doing smears.
Well, it's so funny because you don't see them anymore, really, and it's like for Flash, I mean, or like these old Flash cartoons, it's like why aren't they using these instead of these instead of just stretching out a symbol? I think I just answered my own question. But no, it's a real fun way to do it. I remember our old roommate, or he wasn't ever a roommate, he was just a fixture. He just slept on our couch. Louis Arzonico, an animation buddy of ours, graduated with Cody and I. His thesis, or not his, or maybe his second year film, but he did all smears. It was something. It was like a fly. A fly was bothering a character, and it just was so effective. And I remember watching it on the pencil test, the old lunchboxes and stuff, and watching him. And just like, how, you know, I was very naive then. I didn't know anything really about animation or that technique. You know, you watch. It was painstakingly long to watch anything kind of get onto those lunchboxes. So you just see the paper, and I'd be handing it to him. I was like, this isn't gonna work. I'm like, what is this guy trying to pull? Then he'd play, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. The first time smears was used. Yeah, I think it was. At least it was. I mean, it had to be the first time it was used that much, at least. That was. I mean, that was insane what he was doing. You can look at it. You could go to the keyframes on. Actually, I might do it that way, so it's a little quicker. Let me just try that. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Like if you go through on YouTube and check out how you could, you know, study the frames now, because you could just pause it. And you should look at the Dover brothers on YouTube. It's just insane what he was doing. It makes sense. I mean, you could kind of see it in live action if you pause it, like like watch a baseball game and watch the baseball get thrown, and you see there's just a streak of, you know, white through the air. No, the Chuck Jones, he was a real innovator. All right. Let's see. We got about 40 minutes left, and I always open it up around this time if you guys have any other animation questions that doesn't really even have to do with blood. If you're interested in a technique or something, or you've seen something on our website and want to know how we did it, or any of those kind of questions, let us know. We'll do our best to try to explain it to you. All right, let me color this. I've done that a couple times too with details design, just smear. Oh god, yeah. No, pop settle. It's a real technique, you know. It's not. I got a bad name with Flash for some reason. Well, I know the reason, because people were cheating it all the time. But it's something that people should always consider when you're doing your animation. Especially action stuff. You just kind of pop and settle to it. It's gonna be just fine. Add a smoke layer, add a debris layer, and add a camera shake. No one will ever see the in between anyway. Missed tentacle here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is stagger these frames, so it's a little more impactful. Oh, I colored that line. Oh, I see what happened here. So somewhere along the line. So you see how I colored the line by accident? What I'll do now is copy all the layers, Control-Alt-C, then I'll undo it to find the treble. There we go.
Can't do that in animated.
No, well, you could write a book with what you can't do in there. I actually found it so I didn't have to even paste the frames. Stagger them again. Hopefully everything. There we go. All right, how do you design? Okay, hold on. I have done them. Any examples of smear frames that works that you have done? Can you go over how you animate camera turns? Sure. Camera turns. Well, let me do the smear first. Could you elaborate on the camera turn? Like how we would move a scene as a camera, or like how we did in Flex Caliber when we animated actual turns? Because those are two very different things. So I'm gonna just stretch this out, and I'll get to. I'm trying to think of something where we have smears. Can you think of anything, Bob?
The only thing I could think of is maybe the Cappy stuff. Maybe just try. You could probably just show something quick, like how you would do.
Yeah, I'll show something.
KO's.
Okay, yeah, I'll do like a.
Chunky stuff.
I'll do a chunky KO smear.
No, it's like Flex Caliber.
Okay, well that yeah, I'll show. Well, that's I'll open up a file for that. I'll show you, because it's complicated, but it's not impossible. And when you see the in-betweens, you might think less of Flex Caliber. I don't know if that's possible. Okay, so let me just do a smear thing. All right, so smears all are about. Let me see if I can still even draw. Okay, KO.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
been a while.
So I know his eyes kind of went like that. He had hair back there, right? Oh yeah, his hair was like that.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. I still got it, and he did the circle hands. Okay. So I'm just gonna pick out some colors randomly for him. So we did the game, everything was no holding lines. So what I would start with is just where it's going to be black. And then kind of work from behind. I'm going to just pick out a brown, paint behind. Actually, I'll pick out. This is quick and dirty. Oop. Forgot the eyes first. There's a lot of going back and forth with the KO style, but this is going to be a decent example of how we would do a smear. Okay, pick the red. I'll just do the face for now. He has darker hair, but I think for the sake of argument, we can live with that. I'll just give him a pink face here. We don't need that then. Okay, so I got one face here. And let's see, we want to get him over here to look at something. So I'm going to rough out that one. Just going to save in case something happens. Oh, example already exists. Well, that's my desktop is a war zone.
God, that is not a place.
That's not a place for the fate of art.
Not a good
For the
place to
fate
be.
of organization.
We're lucky if anything makes it to the server.
No, I was looking for some. I forget what I was looking for the other day. It just lost in the ether. So all this stuff's just paint behind. And if you miss something, you just go, like I missed the eyebrows, so I could paint normal then. So I got that. Just gonna move everything down so we can see it. So for me, the smear is all about the antic, then the quick pop, then extreme settle. So when I do an antic, I would do something like scrunch everything down for him. Something like that. Behind. I'm doing this super chunky, just, you know, when we were doing the game, we had to be a little more mindful of line weight. Before just an example.
Although when we were working that quickly, I don't know.
We were working at a pace that was inhumane at one point. That was one of the hardest jobs. I had a lot going on with my wife being on bed rest, my son being in the NICU. It was just not the job for that to do. So he would antic down. Now, smears are all about the arc, so you have to think about where he's going and the path of motion. So he would go down, so we're going to just kind of rough out the arcs here. So that's sort of like what we would want to do for kind of just the overall arc of it. Like that. So I'd keep that kind of on a guide layer. Just so I could see it. Now for a smear like this, what I would do is just work in really broad strokes. So the red would go like that. I would kind of trail off so the color can kind of come off too. Like this, his head's turning too. So like he's kind of going, like you'll see the back of his head in this case. So we got the hair. Now nothing has to really make too much sense in terms of like how, like he always has 3 spikes, but with a smear, you could always add more just because you're giving the indication that it's an illusion. Yeah, I would go behind here. Face here. Then I'm just going to add some kind of action lines here. You can even add an indicator there. Get rid of that. So you can kind of see it kind of coming together here. So then I would do another one here. So it'll all be on ones. I'm just going to try to wing this one. Still following the arc. Kind of pushing the face now. Here is going to keep going that direction. Cheeks starting to fall over here. And then you would just kind of worry about the settle, which I'll do an extreme here. So the eyes kind of pop back. The hair would shoot the other direction because of the force of it. The lips would kind of go back here too. So you kind of get the timing of it a little bit, but you see, and it's like, do I care what this drawing looks like? And it's like, no, and no one should, you know, like, but you get this kind of broad stroke action like that. And OKKO was the perfect example because they would do stuff like that. And then you would just do even, like this one, I could even, like I'm just going to squash it right now. But like pretend I drew this, and then you would do like another kind of settle, like kind of like that. And that's sort of the timing of OKKO too. They had a lot of holds and chunks and stuff. Okay, hold on. Now I missed. Flex.
Dan had to leave.
Oh, okay. Flex is rotoscoped. No, I wish it was. That would have been nice. If any of its interests, the walk cycles are show leisure working on. There's some smears here. Oh, very cool. Can't wait to thank the channel for best animated short and feature. Well, that might be a while. I gotta bounce. Oh, okay, good. Well, thanks for stopping by. But I wouldn't even keep that one there just because I don't like squashing. But something like that is how I would approach a smear. Now let me get to the flex caliber. I'm trying to think of a good camera move. Which one is a good one?
I don't know which one it was where it jumped in the
That's one shot. Intro song, Portal 1. I always get this wrong. Oh, the intro actually has a few. Like the intro song.
Oh yeah, we did do like the gods and stuff.
This one even has a camera move here embedded. So you can see this on the top of the what's it called here? The timeline. It goes from here to here, and it's a camera move, and you can see how crude it is. Like I'm just kind of moving. If you turn off flex, you can see like I'm kind of panning along right there and just animating flex for that one. So, but like if you animate the character in front, it looks like we're kind of doing this three-dimensional thing. So that's one cheat, is just kind of a pan while you're animating. And then there's stuff like this one where I actually started animating the camera move itself. So again, yeah, everything's on the same chart for my stuff. So I'm trying to think of. So all these are just different frames of animation. And you can see, like, then the rocks start to kind of shrink. And then the way that you kind of get away with it, because your eye's going to always kind of, who's ever talking, they're going to be paying attention to. So you kind of, and we made Flex's really bright yellow color. So you kind of get a sense of the movement. And it's a lot of just, if you dissected each drawing, like if you took away Flex, a lot of this doesn't even make sense. You know, like these rocks are like kind of curving and swerving. And you like, none of it really makes a lot of sense when you kind of look at it on a frame by frame basis, but go like that. So just mapping out the character first, I find, and then kind of hedging the background around it. Let me get to the intro song. Alright, so this one has a lot of... So this has some nudity in it if anyone's too young to see that one. So I'm going to go frame by... Well, I'll watch it first. So, okay. We have this same thing where we're just rotating and twisting that symbol. And then you can see the hands kind of swiping everything else on. So we got these symbols embedded, where I got like the background kind of animating like that, and we're just kind of shifting everything in this case. So I set up these backgrounds as symbols. Then it's a quick smear. Now watch the backgrounds. You can see how crude that is. And then again, it's another kind of symbol where I do that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of like that pop settling thing. This is another one where we kind of played with it. Then you can see this one is just a quick smear. Like that doesn't even, it doesn't make any sense, but when you add the character in front of it and everyone's sort of paying attention to, like, look, he just throws his guitar. And like, look at that frame. It's nothing to write home about. And when everything's kind of, my apologies. When everything's kind of jiving on the same thing and you're kind of focused on the character, then you really get away with a lot more. You can overthink these camera moves. And I found the best way is just not to. Like, you see, this is a camera move too. You can just see, like, he just pops to, like, this realistic guy around here. And his beer, so then there's a beer in there. And no one's really the wiser. Like, these are all just just traditional camera moves. Another that smear frame right there. Right here. And if you just kind of lay out, like, you see we've got smears here, another smear.
So what was our Kish? Keep it simple, shithead.
Yeah, keep it simple, shithead. It's what Kish instead of kiss. And it's something we're always telling ourselves. We're the shitheads in that one. And then it's just, this is just a pan. This is just kind of a layer pan figuring it out, so it's not really even animated. And then just another kind of zoom in. So it's really just settle right is sort of the idea, I guess. My long-winded way of saying settle right. Ever use action figures? That'd be too stiff, you think? Not really. Not for the flex stuff is so cartoony. I never had to really go back to any like anatomy. For he looks like All Might when he laughs. Yeah. I did take some photos of wrestlers and use them. I'm not sure which it might have just been bodybuilders too, but they're supposed to kind of look like those really manly, beefy guys. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing when he gets hit here. So what I'm going to do is something different for this one. I'm going to do kind of an antic down before he melts. So we'll kind of do, I'll just rough out some stuff here while we kind of wind down here. And then he'll just kind of burst into kind of some sort of smoke or ether or kind of. And then I kind of always spiral the smoke so everything will go start spiraling like that. And effects you could always sort of do straight ahead. And then you just dissipate out really slow. And then you could always adjust the timing later. Oh, we almost went 2 hours without the police. I'm glad they showed up. The town's not under siege. And then smoke always kind of floats up into nothingness, and then you just slowly just get rid of all those dots. You can kind of see a pattern emerging. All deaths should be under 2 seconds, so we'll end it at the 48 frame mark. So we kind of got this nice, fun, cartoony death alongside with this pretty gruesome one. Let me put them next to each other so they're not. See what they look like. And I will add blood, like shooting off on this one, like just so you know you hit them with the pencil. Just gonna make that in red. So we'll start kind of getting the blood here. It's gonna start leaving a trail like here. So then then it goes on its own timing. And like everything that works in an arc, it's gonna slow up. Like it's gonna hit its peak, kind of stop almost. Then slowly fall back down until it just disappears. And we always have it just, like I don't want to be responsible for if blood lands on the ground, so we kind of just make sure it never hits the ground. Like that, and in the scheme of things, it'll all disappear at the same time. Let's see what that looks like. I think that's a fun little death. Trying to look at that eye. I'm not in love with that eye disappearing anymore. Gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna fix this. It's a little, it's hard to see, but you see how it's disappearing, and it's kind of a weird, like around here, it starts morphing too much.
It's morphing time.
It's morphing. You see, it's not. I'm not in love with that, so I'm gonna have to fix that eye. I'll show you how I do that next week. I could pan it different, but I don't think that's the answer. I think I might just the eye might just kind of shrink, not so much fall apart. Yeah, I don't like that. Who's doing the sound design? That is all these police in Raccoon City. Bob's doing all the sound right now. He's the musician. He is one of the voice actors for Corey. If you those who played the game and heard him, that's Bob. And you could hear that voice in a lot of our shorts. We're doing that a lot. What else did I miss? Did you guys storyboard out Flex Caliber before animating? We did parts of it. Other like the action parts, we just animated kind of straight ahead. Kind of worried about it. Then our writer friends helped us storyboard and time it out a little different. So that was I always recommend storyboarding first. That was a real kind of drawn out thing we were working on. Thanks for the breakdown. I'm going to name my first child Flex. Oh boy. Poor. I hope it's a girl. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Flex is a good name. I wouldn't want it to be associated with that short though. Let's see, and that's it. So let's see. I'm gonna start just doing this antic then. We have about 15 minutes left. I'll worry about that eye. Yeah. I'm the kind of person too that I'll be thinking about that eye tonight if I don't fix it when I leave the stream. Alright, I think that'll work. Okay, so let me start breaking this one down. Alright, so we're gonna get brush 5 again. So I'm gonna reverse sort of the width of the pencil because it's sort of like sucking into his eye a little bit. So the pencil gets thicker actually at the bottom here. Then for the smoke, I want to make sure it's on the same, where his legs kind of stay. So let me rough that out a little bit better, and then I'll show you how we can kind of start working on that. Do you ever take work home? Yeah, I have a workstation at home, too. There's a lot of times where I need to. We work with clients, too, that are in LA, so, you know, there are 3-hour time differences, so especially like near the weekends and stuff, everyone's that's usually when clients act the worst, is when the weekend's coming and they're like, oh, I have to make sure, to make sure I ruin someone's weekend. So so they're always trying to reach out.
They're Friday morning busy by making.
Yeah. Yeah, then they can put their feet up on their desk and act like they did a job well done. So yeah, I always have to work when I'm home. One of the pitfalls. So I'm just gonna do this in black line right now, though the smoke I usually do a colored line, but we're just worrying about the line work right now, and then we could kind of focus on how we would do the color change. kind of square off this one just to stylize the smoke a little bit. All right. So that's when the smoke he turns into pure smoke. Now we have to get him to that part, and that part is a little bit tricky. So you have to. I'm trying to think of like what part turns into smoke here. So what I want to do is kind of take this edge of the eye, and that's the one that's going to flow into that part. So yeah, I just have to kind of keep that in mind. So what we'll do is just slowly start morphing this guy. The pencil can start kind of morphing, and this part's very just this is a very fluid kind of thing we're going to try to shoot for. So now proportions are just out the window. So that's the eye. That part turns into that part. So you can see it's kind of going to go into that. And then we got some time. I can animate to that smoke part, and I'll show you how we'll do like the kind of the color change of it. Might go a little over 2 hours, but I got a rhythm here. Why worry about it? So his legs start getting a little bit edgier, a little bit harder edge. I know you guys were talking about adding elements to the game. Will different outfits be part of that? You know, there's a part when she's in the winter where we might have to do something because she's in her cowl. That's something that's so far down the line. I feel like that. I don't know if there's there's a programming thing where you can. I know Link has like different. He has different rings where he can change, and I know they just changed the color of the sprite. I don't know if that's an option. Plus, pink is sort of her color, so we might not even think about doing that. But I don't know. I can see like in the winter time, at least the NPC characters will have different outfits on. Alright, so that could be a little longer. We could stretch that out. Gonna worry about this one. So now things start getting a little dicey, but so we're gonna just keep following kind of that curvature. The pencil's gonna slowly melt away into that. This part becomes that part. So that's the eye. This is part of his body still. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change the color of that. Alright, so the pencil's kind of going to just go right into, eventually be absorbed into the smoke kind of type body. Kind of losing the shape of them a little more as we get further and further. One more here. I think we could just wing this one. And it's just about following the contours at this point. Always be mindful with smoke what is turning into what, because it gets a little bit confusing. So the smoke turns into that, and the pencil's all but gone. And at that point, it's just gonna be smoke. This will be an ease out, so we'll kind of favor that side. This we're gonna have to rough out a little bit. Pencil's turning into that. Eyes over there. Make that red for a second. Okay. Oh, got the in-betweens here. All right. Alright, I think I could just in between the rest like this. I don't need to rough it out too much. I definitely don't recommend this if you're just starting out though. Always rough out stuff. I've gotten yelled at before by just winging it. It's always because I'm on a deadline though. It's not because I don't like rough drawings. Couple more and then I'll show you the trick where we're gonna kind of change the color of him while he's animating. And it's all about shape tweens, believe it or not.
Somebody asked about shape tweens, actually.
Oh, did they? I forgot about the line. What was the question?
Do we ever use the?
Yes, I do use shape tweens a lot actually. Depending on what I use it for. Motion graphics, you need to use it a lot, just because it's broad, just basic shape kind of stuff. But I'm going to use it for maybe not the most practical purpose soon, but at least to get the colors completely accurate on how to change from one color to another seamlessly, using, I guess, the power of math or whatever they use to make sure the shape tween works right. And if you break things down enough, you can shape tween just about anything. But you have to, it becomes that thing where it's not worth it if it's too complicated. So you can see, kind of turns into nothing here. So let me just clean up this keyframe too, just so we have some. Just so I have some motion here. I'm gonna have to rough that out a little more than that. So this keeps turning. This disappears like that. This keeps moving up. Go from that to that, and then I'll show you this shape tween trick that I was mentioning. Yep. All right. Okay, now the rest is just that dissipates, and that's kind of boring stuff, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay, so at this point right here, this keyframe, where all the line work other than just the exterior of the smoke, that's going to be the first frame of it just being pure smoke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick some colors here. I'm trying to think what a fun color for smoke would be. Let's try that red. I'm going to try that red, and we'll do for outline smoke. Let me get that. Red, and we'll need a cool outline color. That's sort of. I'm gonna try that pink. Let's see. Coloring's not my. I'm not great at it. It's a little white. Let's see. Maybe I'll just lower it here. Desaturate it a bit. Try it like that. See if that works anyway. That's not much better. Might be worse. Let's see what it looks like. Just a little darker. It's something like this. We're gonna just change the outline slightly like that. Okay, so we need to get from this one, which is the same color as these. I'm just gonna color this real quick. Okay. So I'm going to edit now. So how do we get from here to that in the in-betweens? When is Bob the background guy? When is going to have another stream? I learned a lot about texture. We can have that out. We can do that a Thursday or something. I always want to add more of this stuff. We're talking about other play. Do you ever straight teens? What have you enjoyed animating the most? That question in terms of, do you mean as project goes, or like just characters, or what do you mean by animating the most? Like, I could tell you Blood is my favorite project I've worked on. Character stuff, I had fun with Flex too. Flex was a real fun character to animate. Mostly our personal stuff, though, which probably comes off as selfish, but I just like our personal stuff so much better. So I got two in-betweens here, or two keyframes from there to there. Now what happens is I'm just going to hit Shape Tween. Shape. I'm going to go down to -100 because it's slow, then goes up quick. And now you see every color here indicates the keyframe I should be coloring the next one. So I'm going to just do the eye first. So I'm going to, every frame, I'm just going to click on it. It doesn't look like it's a very subtle change. So you can see it's slow. When I sift through it, you can see it gets faster. And now let's color the rest. Okay, so we're going to do the body next. So what I do is just click on that again. Now it's going to in between from that color. Then I do that black outline last because that I don't want to mess up the. I need to focus on the line work first. Okay, so let's do the pencil. And you can see by the time you get to the last frame, it's almost all the same color anyway. Let's do the gray. shown anyway. Then lastly, the yellow. Yellow disappears for a second, then shows back up here. And disappears again. And we can do that one. Alright, now lastly the line, so I'm going to change that one to this. It's going to start from black. So then I'm just going to make sure I hit the line right here. And this is a real subtle change. Now if I picked a lighter line for the outside smoke, it would change a lot quicker, obviously. Okay, so there goes that. So you can get this cool morphing effect just by doing a little bit of extra work with the shape queens. And that, I think, oh, we're at 206. That's a cool technique. Oh, thank you. So I think we're gonna close now. Didn't Greg get into some sort of
Oh yeah, no.
What would do?
Artscape? It's in,
Artscape? Does anyone know where Artscape
It's
is?
in Baltimore. Again.
Oh, okay. Baltimore. Close up shop and open up there. Alright, so let's see. We're going into close down mode and promotional. We encourage you guys to, keep showing your artwork on this thing too. We try to open this up to all animators, all artists. So if you have an animation friend and they would like to check us out, be sure they sign up to our Twitch. Let's see, anything of the Blood game. Yes, go to that. Any questions should be answered on terms of when the demo's coming out, when we finally get all that information. We'll let all those people who sign up to bloodgame.com, we'll let them know first. As always, our Instagram and Twitter, all that Exit 73 Studio stuff. And it's not just Blood on that either. There's other stuff we're working on. And let's see, anything else? We'll post more about where Greg, our writer, is going to be showing Blood in Baltimore and when that's approaching. And hopefully you guys can come stop by, talk his ear off, let him know how good the writing's coming out, because it's coming out great, in my opinion. And all that good stuff. So until next week, everyone. Oh, another thanks. Yeah, Animated T. Dot. Thank you. So let us know your questions on YouTube. We'll post this later, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. Take care, everyone.